Hi, I'm Jessie Haynes. Welcome to Principal Matters. I've got with me an awesome guest. That's Dr. Timothy Chargois. He is the man who knows all about the numbers, the academic achievement, the data performance management numbers. He's the man we want to talk to. Welcome.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to talk about all the good things that our staff has done, and I just get to be that face to the numbers.
He's so generous. But we talk about, well, let's talk about one, our rating academically. Where are we?
You are sitting in a recognized school district for 2 years with a population of about 85% minority, 70+%, probably close to 75% economically disadvantaged.
Okay.
So when you look at our demographics across the state and probably across the nation, not many districts are performing where we are, which means 80% or more, at least 80% or more in each of those demographic groups are performing on our state assessment. And for that matter, we're really about 2 areas away from exemplary, and we were just a little bit disappointed that we didn't make it. We were at 87% in 2 areas, and so we're working extremely hard. You mentioned the word performance management.
Yeah.
So what we're trying to do is take that data and integrate it into our systems and into our thinking so that our staff can actually manage their data in a way that gets us across that hump.
So is that what makes us so different from every other school district in America? We're really honing in on this performance management data?
I think it separates us in the sense that we bring attention to our weaker areas. We don't hide it.
Okay.
Contrary to what people may think, we are very, very open about and very real about where we sit or where we stand in terms of data. Now, we also partner with other districts, and I think when you partner with other districts and you face realities about where you are, you can't do anything but get better if you're really serious about educating students.
Yeah.
Then the most important thing is once you do that, you have to have a staff that's energetic and fired up about doing what they have to do. And so we had a team of maybe 10 people in here from across the state to look at our district in reference to a Paul Brown $3 million grant. And the thing that they said was this district has a clarity of purpose. From our superintendent, Dr. Carol Thomas, to teachers that they met with and interviewed with, even parents that they met with, there was a very clear clarity of purpose. So when you have good data, clarity of purpose, a mind to teach every child where they are, regardless of what they bring to the table, then we can celebrate our success today.
So who are these people who came in? I mean, were they expert professional educators? I mean, what gave them that kind of
Well, we partnered with Paul Brown. When I say partnered, our department and Paul Brown collaborated to write a grant.
Right.
We have unique challenges in our district, and we're trying to get every child to graduate. So what happened is, through this collaboration, we were awarded a $3 million grant. Okay.
That in itself is unique, right?
It is unique, but the interesting thing is you only get $1 million a year.
Okay.
So if we don't do what we said we're going to do, then of course you don't get the second million or the third million.
Ooh.
So the Texas Education Agency wanted to come in to see, does this group or does this district have the capacity to support that team in this change or transformation? And so we had retired assistant superintendents, principals from across the state and from various districts who understand school business and kind of knows what goes on. They know how to pick up the rock and turn it over.
Okay.
You know, are you making stuff up or are you just saying things? And of course, one of the slights to us was that in our district's plan, what we call the district's educational improvement plan,
Okay.
they said, you know what, you're doing more than what you're saying you're doing in your district's plan. And typically when they go in the districts, they find that districts overstate what they do. And so when you get a group of people in, professionals who understand what you're doing, they've been through it, they have experience in that field.
Yeah.
If I have a cold, which I did a couple of days ago, you have to go see a doctor.
Yeah.
So you don't go to a fireman to fix a cold, so to speak. And so if you want to know about education and you want to find out how do you educate the type of students we have, you talk to people like Dr. Thomas, or you talk to people like TEA, who sends people in to say, what are you doing? How are you doing it?
Yeah.
And so when you look at that clarity of purpose and a commitment, secondly, to accountability, and not trying to hide things and being truthful about where you are, hey, you move forward. And we support and celebrate our parents, our staff, our teachers, principals, everybody from the transportation worker to the cafeteria worker who brings a smile to the face of a kid.
Yeah.
Everybody has played a part in our district's success.
So respecting and honoring that entire group of people is part of what makes this work.
It is,
Yeah.
because primarily our student body comes from their families.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you look at a district with close to 75% economic disadvantage, if you think about how you qualify for that, then you look at, okay, what types of jobs do these people have? Well, they are wage earners,
Yeah.
and they're sending their kids here for a better opportunity. So I take that, and I know Dr. Thomas, my colleagues, assistant superintendents, our principals here, they take that very, very seriously, because many of us, including myself for sure,
Yeah.
it was through education, it was through knowledge, and a support team of parents and church members and principals and so on and so forth who believed in what education could do that I sit here. So we take that and embody it, and hey, we're going to do that for these young people today. So we're fired up about it. We're fired up in Beaumont ISD.
And I want to talk a little bit about your background, but let me wrap this thing up about the Paul A. Brown Alternative Center, this transformation grant. So, and generally the people who are at Paul Brown are students who've maybe gotten behind a year or two. And
Exactly. There may be some extenuating circumstances in their lives.
Yeah.
Dr. Nelson, our programs evaluator, worked with Ms. Colbert and her team and wrote specific things for that campus. They are unique. And even in alternative centers, they are unique across the state of Texas.
Yeah.
And so through their collaboration, they came up with these innovative ideas, and we're just excited about getting those things launched. So if you go to Paul Brown or don't know about Paul Brown, go and visit Ms. Colbert and her team, and I think you'll be pleased with the acceleration of classes and services that we're providing. Just for example, most of our curriculum is written in a 6-week format. Well, Paul Brown, we run on a 9-week format. So we're bringing in knowledgeable people,
Okay.
experts in the area of curriculum. They'll be here mid-November, actually next week, working with our individual core supervisors and develop a specific program of study for math, language arts, science, social studies for that student who may have, for whatever reasons, psychosocially, whatever problems they've been brought to the table.
Yeah.
We're going to try to negate those so that they can move forward, be empowered, earn money, and pay taxes. I keep hearing
And you
this
love
thing
it,
about
huh?
paying tax. Yes, we need it.
So if there's a student there who may be 16 years old and maybe should be in the 11th grade, but really is like only got to like the 9th grade, they would come to Paul Brown Center and do this catch-up thing?
Right. What that student would need to do is contact his or her campus counselor.
Okay.
So if I'm a 9th grader, I would talk with my 9th grade counselor, either Westbrook, Ozanne, or Central. From there, that counselor can give them specifics as to how you would get into that program.
Okay.
There are certain requirements. that have to be in place for a student to actually be enrolled.
Okay.
So, and again, I don't know all of those right offhand, but your counselor would be able to work with Miss Hood, who is the counselor at Paul Brown, and
Okay.
can work through those specifics.
So
But-
whatever zone you live in, whatever that high school is, you would talk to that counselor. Say if you just moved to town and you don't want to go in a class where you're 2 years behind, you
Then
would talk to that counselor at that high
talk
school.
to that counselor, or if not, call Bertie Harrison, our district's supervising counselor, and then she can put them on the right track, because there may be some requirements that student can't fulfill at that time, and so Paul Brown may not be the alternative. We don't want that to be something that actually hinders them. We want it to actually be a launching pad. So
Okay.
go through the paces.
Okay. The great thing about this too, I'm hearing you say throughout the district, this team found that throughout the district, from the parent to the employee to the student to everybody involved, there is the message that we are about what?
A culture of accountability.
Okay.
And that clarity of purpose, or understanding that culture of accountability, is present in everyone who works in this district that they were able to meet with.
Yeah.
And I think when you go to convocation, which you've been,
Yeah.
and you see the excitement on the face of the staff, and of course being somewhat involved in the incentive pay and being able to see how much teachers are able to earn out of that. But what I find is, even though the money is exciting, it's the excitement, or really the passion behind knowing they accomplished something beyond themselves.
Yeah.
So the dollar is okay, but man, when you've accomplished the rating of recognized or exemplary, that means more, in my opinion, than the money.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't
And I
hurt.
hear that from a lot of people. And by the way, if you don't know, Dr. Chargois is one of the persons who does that calculation to say how much that incentive pay is going to be for teachers or employees.
Yeah. So we're fortunate that our board looks to incentivize our staff behind great efforts. And so Dr. Thomas always says, you pay each employee to do his job at 100%, but it never hurts to have a little extra lanyard. You're this close to this close to Louisiana.
Yeah, and a lot of our employees do go so much above and beyond.
That's right.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about that data performance management relationship you have with Dell Foundation.
Yeah, one of the things Dell and Advance, the group that actually manages for us, they were looking for school districts across the state with specific demographics, but had to have a culture already of using data for improvement. Of course, there's probably no more renowned in the field of education when you want to talk about African American superintendents that are doing the job and cutting through all the other stuff. There's none other than Dr. Thomas. So he was sought after, and there were 7 school districts selected to participate in this. But Dell, national, worldwide company, has selected these 7 school districts to look at, okay, what are you doing to actually have this kind of improvement academically? One of the neat things about what I do, Jessie, is that I know who my enemy is. My enemy is ignorance.
Ignorance.
I fight that every day. I fight it every day.
Yeah.
But there's no duality in it. If you don't know, you don't know. So now the next step is, how do I empower the people who can help you to know so that they can move you forward? So what Dale did was look for districts who were actually doing what they knew best to do and could say, you know what, this is what you want to do if you want to improve a district. So we were sought after and excited to be a part of that team. Dr. Thomas is actually one of the leading superintendents. So I think about a year ago there was a press release put out in the Houston papers that talked about these fantastic things that we were doing with data, and we're just excited to be a part of it and to be recognized across the state as a district that uses data for improvement, because priority, education, teaching the kid, and then empowering the teacher so that she or he can again empower that kid.
So did any grant funding come along with that partnership.
There's always a little lanyard.
Okay.
And, we're excited with those millions of dollars that we've received and the partnership. We've actually created a new department called Performance Management, and that's under the leadership of Dr. Kimber Knight. And what we've done is merge two departments, instructional technology and performance management, in a way that's allowed us to be a lot more effective with, number one, the technology we put in classrooms, but also now, how do you manage the data? It's one thing to have a collection of stuff.
Yeah.
But if you don't know how to sort the stuff and then use the stuff to improve, then it really does you to no good. So what she
does, just a pack
does,
rat at that time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what she does and her team and her programmer, they go into our systems. Mm-hmm. They extract data, demographic data. Okay, kid's black, he's white, or Mexican, or whatever. They're economically disadvantaged. They know this objective, they don't know this objective. And then we look for trends in that data. Then through those trends, we look at research-based practices across the state, across the nation that have been impactful in that area. And then we go out and either recruit the people to come in and train our staff, or we try to purchase that product, or we try to assimilate that process into our curriculum, our scope and sequence, in such a way that then it transforms, that teacher's empowered, and she or he then transforms our students. Very big collaboration with our title departments, with Kathy Chavis.
Okay.
Through the federal program, there's a lot of data and a lot of management that has to happen. So when you begin to look at the connections and collaborations between our departments, Dr. Knight is that go-between title, between curriculum, between technology, between research, so that she can bring all that to head. And then we train, we have, I think it's 32 performance management liaisons on each campus. So there's one on each campus who comes in periodically and is trained on how to use things like Eduphoria, which is our tax database, INOVA, which is a statistical kind of a value-added process that we use to look at how we're going to group students. So her job is to kind of go as that in-between between the research, our department, the actual assessment, and the other departments, and find out the best way to integrate that into our systems.
So your division brings the science of teaching to the art of learning, or you bring that together, huh? I mean, because
we try.
You try. Obviously, you're doing well.
We're getting better. We're getting better every day.
Okay, so reflect back on how the district rated, say, in reading, social. What are the areas that TEA measures us in?
You're going to look at reading, ELA, English Language Arts,
okay.
Math, science, social studies. And when we look at in writing,
okay.
So when you look at these particular areas, our job is to meet a minimum standard.
Okay.
Now, one of the things that I'm really excited about to share, and I hope our staff is, and our principals have shared that, not only in meeting minimum standards, but there's a push now for what we're calling college readiness and career readiness. Your district, I think I sent an email out across our campuses, 74 gold commendations were earned by our district, and that's up from about, I think we had about 55 or so last year. So that means your students are not only meeting minimum expectations, but they're also meeting these commended level expectations.
Yeah,
and
that's more than we've ever earned.
No, that's quite more than we've ever earned.
Wow.
And your district actually earned 2 commendations, one for social studies,
okay,
and the other for what we call the Texas Success Initiative in math, which means when colleges are looking at math and math performance, or when the state is trying to measure, can a kid pass math or be ready for math in college, he has to hit a certain benchmark.
Okay.
So our district was actually commended in that area as well.
Cool.
So we're pretty excited about doing that.
Okay.
But we're not satisfied.
Okay.
We
Never satisfied.
We want commendations in, of course, every area.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And in preparation for next year, part of your rating in terms of being recognized or exemplary is going to have that commendable level status. So I think our staff understood it before it was actually required, because again, we're thinking that way, preparing that way. Okay. So now it's a matter of just repeating and improving upon some of the things we're already doing.
Great. Okay, 74 gold performance awards by TEA.
From the area of attendance,
okay,
through science, maybe math, reading, so on and so forth.
That is
across the
awesome.
district.
Awesome. Okay, I gotta get that story out.
Oh, yeah.
Also, when you look at how we rated in those individual subjects that you mentioned, the 5 subjects, we were exemplary in reading.
You were exemplary as a district,
right,
in all of them except for math in 2 areas, 2 subgroups.
Okay, and in math you were,
we as a
district.
Disadvantage as a group, demographic group, and African Americans as a group.
But overall, we got a recognized rating for math?
Right, because you can't be rated higher than your lowest performing subgroup.
Okay.
So when you take all 25 areas, that would be the 5 tested areas, along with the 5 demographic groups, so that's 5 times 5, that's 25.
Okay.
23 of the 25 measures in BISD are 90%.
Great.
There are 2 that were at 87%, and that was ED math and African American math. And of course, Brian Averill, our math supervisor, Dr. Rucker, our Title I supervisor at secondary, and of course all of our leadership team, they're working frantically on making sure that doesn't happen again next year.
Good, good. And so parents out there need to know if you've got an African American child, recognize it's good in math, but we want exemplary.
We want exemplary. And parents, use the parent self-serve.
Okay.
So, grades went out 2 or 3 weeks ago. Hey, sign up, send your letter to the teacher, to the campus, and go online and check those students' grades, check their attendance.
Yeah, that's another area that falls within your auspices, the parent self-serve program, where parents can go in and find out what their students' grades are.
Right.
Okay, and so you're saying at this point, don't wait until the end of the 6 weeks. Start first week.
Check weekly. Actually, our teachers are required by that end of the week to have at least those new grades in there. So you should know probably on Monday how your child did the previous week. So we know Drs. Bonton, elementary assistant superintendent, our deputy, and Dr. Harris, secondary, they're very well aware of that. So we're all trying to talk, make sure your parents are aware, get those forms in, get them signed, so that you can have access to your students' data. Good,
good. So really, with all that we're doing as far as data and performance management, individualized attention for students, the achievements we're getting on the state level with the Texas Education Agency, we're just really, truly on the road to exemplary.
We are on the road to exemplary. Now what we have to do is do those little bitty things a little bit better. And we can't drop where we've actually already grown. And so when you're looking at 25 measures, 20,000 students, testing maybe about 13,000 here in the next few months. It's not an easy task, but your staff, our staff, has a commitment to accountability, a culture of accountability, and a clarity of purpose that our board, that Dr. Thomas pushes, they support, they reward. So I think it's right there. It's right there in our grasp.
Taste it. We're going to grab it next year.
We're going to try.
All righty. That's great.
Let me say this to you, because one of the things come up, we get a lot of people want us to try to make projections.
Yeah.
I am very cautious about making projections.
And I'm always pushing you to project,
but
I know.
Sometimes we're pushing to, okay, can we call it?
Yeah.
Until we get all the data in, you really can't make that. But one of the things that we're really excited about is that no matter how all of the matters have meted out in the academic standpoint, when you look at tax and testing and our curriculum and our alignment, our students are performing. And so you can't take that away from us, and we're pretty proud of that.
And that's awesome. And we're going to take a break right now because I want to come back and talk to you about this new testing standard that's coming up and just where we're going to be next year and for the next couple of years.
Okay, excellent.
So, all right, stay tuned. We'll be right back with the numbers man, Dr. Tim Chargois. I'm Jessie Haynes, your host for Principal Matters. Stay tuned. Hey, thanks for coming back. I'm talking with Dr. Timothy Chargois. We're going to talk about a new test that's coming up. STAR. What does it mean? Are we done with tax?
Test.
What's that?
As soon as you think that you've gotten something under your hat, they change it.
Yeah.
But the agitation is good because our staff needs to be prepared for never settling. But the STAR test, the state of Texas's academic assessment or readiness exams were developed as a push, I think under House Bill 3, that we had to bump up or ratchet up our college readiness.
Okay.
And so it is a drive to connect third grade all the way up to what we are calling the P16 concept, from elementary to college.
Okay.
And so our new assessments are going to be driven to try to relate or connect how well is this student at third grade prepared for what's going to happen when he or she is a college student.
All the way up to sophomore level? Oh, wow. Or more.
Yeah. And one of the challenges is, can a kid score a certain scale score, which scale scores, as we've understood them before, they're all in the process of changing.
Mm-hmm.
But sometimes, let me say this though, you have to be careful what you wish for. We had a lot of parents and students say, oh, the tax is going away. But we're moving from 4 exams for a student to graduate
Okay.
to 12.
Ooh.
So now when students enter 9th grade, they thought, well, I still got 3 more years before I got to pass math. That's not the case. Because it's an accumulated score, and because I may be taking my easier subject in grade 9, I have to reverse my thinking. I probably need to get a higher score in math on algebra in 9th grade than if I were taking it in the 11th grade. Because in 11th grade, I'm going to take Algebra 2, which is significantly harder than Algebra 1. So now I have to have this accumulated score, but my mindset has to be thinking, okay, my score counts in 9th grade because it connects to 10th grade and because it connects to the 11th grade. So we have a lot of new things that are coming on the horizon.
And you're still kind of working out the kinks, huh? The state is?
Still working out. The commissioner is required by state statute to deliver a transition plan to the legislative body on December 1st.
Okay.
I'll actually be in Austin around that time. So hopefully around December 3rd, we'll have an idea about what our new calendar will be, because believe it or not, Phil Brooks and that administrative side of our what we do.
Yeah.
They're trying to build next year's calendar. Well, we don't have the state assessment calendar. So when we get that calendar, get that transition plan in place, we'll have a better idea of how BISD and our fearless staff and our great parents will attack this issue. And again, we will be on top.
Well, we're still going to be 180 days, though, right? We're not talking about more days.
It's still the same amount
Okay.
of days. We're required again by law. I think that was House Bill 1.
Okay.
You can't start until the 4th Monday in August. And but now because of the end of course exams and the number of
Right.
opportunities kids may need to take it, where some school districts would allow their kids to be released early for good scores of this, that, and the other, we're going to have to rethink that across the state. So whole new ball game, and really not quite ready to comment on all that because we're not quite sure where everything's going.
So we don't even know right now when this end of testing program will start?
We have a general idea that it will probably start with reading ELA in February, March.
Okay.
And the reason being because students, when they do the writing, it will take a lot of time to grade the writing. But other than that, I'm gambling on it.
Okay, so, but for the next year, whatever rating we get this school year, that's going to be our rating by TEA for the next 2 years?
In an unofficial way, so what we want to do is grab on the recognize or grab on the exemplary as a district or state, or as a campus, and then in an unofficial way, we'll hang on to that title for the next 2 years. So it's very important that we keep that in mind.
Wow. So you got all this data management stuff, this technology stuff, the research. When you were growing up as a little kid, did you want to do this?
It's funny how God allows things to happen in your life. But being a student who was probably not the most successful and understanding the challenges that I had and finally getting motivated to do better, when I got motivated to do better, I understood there was a science to me doing better.
Okay.
So then I became interested in the research or the thinking behind why do students think a particular way. And so as a principal, as a teacher, I focused in on those areas, and now I've been given an opportunity by our board and superintendent to just kind of explore and find new paths to the mind or to our learning. I think that's hopefully, changing our district and making our students a whole lot better.
Oh, absolutely it is.
Yeah.
I wish I could talk a whole lot more about all these great things you're doing, but we are out of time.
Thank you for having me.
Will you come back and let's talk more numbers?
You'll see.
Okay, thank you. We've been listening to Dr. Timothy Chargois. He is Assistant Superintendent for Research,
Planning and Evaluation.
Longest title at the district. And also better known as our philosopher on staff. So thanks for coming in to talk to us about what's going on with new testing and current testing and where we're going to be next year. Thank you, Dr. Chargois. I want you to join us next week when we're going to have another great Principal Matters show, and we're going to have another great guest to talk to you about a very important principal matter. Jessie Haynes signing off. See you next week.